An anonymous major WWE superstar reportedly has concerns about a CM Punk versus Roman Reigns feud in WWE now that Punk's back with the company. Speaking of CM Punk and his return, plenty more details about the former AEW World Champion's arrival back in WWE last weekend have now been revealed. When it comes to Monday Night Raw and the media rights negotiations, WWE reportedly has been rejected by AEW's television partner Warner Bros. Discovery. WWE NXT interviewer McKenzie Mitchell has been released by WWE, as well as several other corporate names as part of the TKO merger. Roman Reigns' Royal Rumble opponent possibly has been revealed. Speaking of the Rumble, several major stars are absent from this year's poster for the event. An update on Mercedes Monae's future in professional wrestling. Matt Hardy discusses his current ongoing AEW creative frustrations. An update on some in WWE questioning internal leadership over the decision not to sign Will Ospreay, and an update as to the reason behind Britt Baker's AEW absence. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's start off talking about CM Punk versus Roman Reigns, a feud that reportedly is planned by WWE now that Punk's back within the company. However, there are reportedly some concerns over plans for Punk to face the undisputed WWE Universal Champion in the future. In his first WWE promo in almost a decade, CM Punk made reference to a wise man giving him advice. That wise man reference was seen by some as him meaning Paul Heyman, a longtime associate of CM Punk in his original WWE run. Heyman is currently heavily associated with Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, leading many to connect the dots between Punk and Reigns. Dave Meltzer has now revealed a timeline for the potential feud between the pair in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, writing, quote, "Whether he meant this as a tease, it was immediately taken that somewhere down the line that Heyman and Punk will end up together, which led to Reigns versus Punk speculation. The reality is that Reigns versus Punk would be the biggest match they could do." Sports Illustrated reported after Punk versus Rollins that the direction is Reigns versus Punk. That is the obvious ultimate direction, so it's clear it's not even being hidden, but for right now, the plan is to take a lot of time before getting there. The feeling right now is that will be gigantic at the time they choose to get there. Whether it results in Heyman leaving Reigns for Punk and Punk going heel and Reigns face, which was the speculation we got, there are multiple different ways to approach that. There could, though, be concerns over how long WWE should wait to pull the trigger on that feud, though, with Meltzer going on to state, quote, "The key is to peak it timing-wise, although it will probably work big whenever it happens, but there are risks." One major star who saw the situation said they'd better get there within 6 months because of the injury risk or uncertainty with Punk. It was recently reported that Seth Rollins would indeed be the first opponent for Punk when it comes to the return of Punk, considering his reaction as well. So what are your thoughts on Roman Reigns versus CM Punk? What are your thoughts on the likelihood of that match happening? What are your thoughts on there possibly being some internal concerns about the feud as well? And where do you think it would end up? Do you think Paul Heyman would side with CM Punk? Do you think he would side with Roman Reigns? Would it be a bit like when Roman Reigns faced off against Brock Lesnar, when Heyman's loyalties are questioned? Let me know your thoughts about it in the comments section below. Now, when it comes to CM Punk's return, we actually have plenty of details when it comes to his return last weekend at Survivor Series War Games. Now, more has come out regarding CM Punk's return to WWE, including when the deal came together and why AEW wasn't referenced in his Monday Night Raw promo. It's been several days since the Allstate Arena came unglued at the sight of CM Punk, who walked out onto the stage at a WWE event for the first time in just under a decade. Since then, the former AEW World Champion has addressed the WWE Universe in the final segment of Monday Night Raw, and many are still struggling to believe quite how the company was able to pull off the return in a way that surprised almost everyone watching and around the world. To talk more about how CM Punk's comeback came together, Dave Meltzer has written today in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that the deal happened around 10 days before Survivor Series and was discussed within WWE once they knew that Punk didn't have a non-compete clause following the termination of his AEW contract. Meltzer said, quote, "The only thing we were told is that the deal was put together about 10 or so days before the event and kept secret, although obviously the idea that there was never any discussion prior is not the case, and obviously it had been talked about dating back to them getting the word that Punk didn't have a non-compete period." Now, to touch on how confident WWE were of being able to land the 45-year-old, it was said that Punk's previous attempts to come back to the company made them feel as if interest would be strong on his side if the chance to return to the company came up. Meltzer said, quote, "From the WWE side, they knew Punk would come since there were 2 prior attempts Punk's side to come back in. Once before he signed with AEW and a second time last year when WWE couldn't have gotten him anyway because his AEW contract was still in effect," end quote. As mentioned, CM Punk followed up with his huge return at Survivor Series by appearing the following Monday on Raw. However, some fans felt underwhelmed by what they heard from the former AEW star during his return promo, particularly because of content of what he didn't mention as to what he'd been doing between his 2 spells within WWE. Now, to clarify why Punk's promo steered away of any clear reference to his time in AEW, Meltzer said that there are several NDAs which prevent either side from talking about each other in the public eye. Quote, "For those wondering or disappointed that Punk said nothing about AEW, it's because both he and others have signed several NDAs regarding talking publicly about the other." CM Punk's return promo focused on how he's happy that he's back in WWE, and it's widely believed, as I mentioned, that his first feud will be with the current World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins. On top of this, it's also been suggested that there are plans to face Roman Reigns against CM Punk in the future. Of course, if we get any more details on CM Punk's return, we'll let you know. Now, one person who is associated with CM Punk is Ace Steel, and we've got a bit of an update on that as well, because shortly after CM Punk's termination from AEW, Ace Steel was also let go from the company. And there had been speculation that Punk could bring Steel with him to WWE. Steel has shown up backstage at Impact Wrestling's Bound for Glory event in Chicago in October, but there has been an update on whether he can follow Punk back to WWE. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer noted that Punk had no non-compete clause because his firing was deemed with cause, while Steel was still being paid through the rest of his deal. Meltzer writes, quote, "When Punk was fired after the backstage altercation involving Jack Perry at Wembley Stadium, it was an outright firing, which AEW termed was due to just cause, and thus he was a free agent with no non-compete. That was a very different situation from Ace Steel, who the company did let go shortly thereafter, but was being paid until the expiration of his deal. And while he was not blocked from going to Impact, he would not be able to follow Punk to WWE if Punk had the power to get him there until the AEW contract period expired. So that's basically a bit of a difference when it comes to CM Punk and Ace Steel and their departures from AEW. Now, there's been a lot of discussion, hasn't there, about Monday Night Raw and the media rights negotiations and talks possibly with AEW's broadcast partner Warner Bros. Discovery, and it kind of picked up over the last few days that maybe there was consideration to bring Raw to TNT or TBS, and what would that mean for All Elite Wrestling? What would that mean for Dynamite? What would it mean for Rampage? What would it mean for AEW Collision? Well, despite the returns of CM Punk and Randy Orton, Triple H actually missed Raw this past Monday, instead heading to Los Angeles with Nick Khan to close a new rights deal for the Red brand. Following WWE's merger with UFC and the completion of a new television deal for SmackDown, the negotiations have taken on a huge significance. Monday Night Raw is considered to be the company's flagship show, having first been broadcast back in January 1993. Writing in today's Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer noted that while WWE was hoping to make $400 million from the new contract, they'll have to settle for $387 million. Quote, "Paul Levesque was not at Raw this week because he and Nick Khan were in Los Angeles trying to finalize the new Raw television deal. They were hoping for $400 million, but analysts believe it will be closer to $387 million per year." Now, with regards to talks with Warner Bros. Discovery, the home of AEW, Meltzer revealed that Nick Khan, the WWE CEO, approached the conglomerate back in October, but was rejected. Warner never took the offer seriously due to their ties with AEW, and WWE felt a potential deal was a long shot for the same reason. Quote, "Regarding WBD, which would be the game changer in many ways if it happened, the WBD version told to many this past week is that Nick Khan last went to WBD in October with a pitch and then was turned down. On November 7th, it was announced that NXT will be leaving USA Network in October 2024. The new 5-year agreement will see WWE's third brand move to the CW Network in a deal said to be worth over $30 million. That news came after it was confirmed that WWE SmackDown would be leaving Fox and heading back to the USA Network in October of 2024 in a deal worth around $1.4 billion. So what are your thoughts on Raw? Where do you think it will head up next? Where do you think it will land? Do you think it'll be off USA Network now that SmackDown's going to the network? And also, what are your thoughts about these rumors involving Raw and WBD, and now it being reported that actually Nick Khan did pitch WWE to Warner Bros. Discovery, but they were very quickly rejected because of the ties with AEW? And is that actually a good indication that AEW is going to be sticking around with Warner Bros. Discovery when a new deal is agreed with them? Let me know your thoughts about that as well. Now, a couple of releases today to get into here, one being NXT interviewer McKenzie Mitchell. She has revealed today that she has been released by the company. She posted the following, saying, quote, "Today I was released by WWE. I met my husband, moved cross country from Connecticut to Florida for NXT, a place I've always considered home, and met friends that became like family. I've always said and firmly believe in when a door closes, another opens." Now, it's not the only departures from WWE today, because more departures have been confirmed, with the company laying off more people from the corporate end. Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics noted today that WWE had laid off more of their corporate employees. He wrote on social media, quote, "WWE has laid off more corporate employees today, according to multiple people at the company. This follows layoffs of more than 100 employees in September following the closing of the TKO merger." So, of course, we get any more updates on that, we'll let you know. It would appear that Mitchell is the only talent that's been released thus far, but if we get any more details on that, we'll let you know. Now, let's switch gears here and talk about the Royal Rumble and talk about Roman Reigns. There's been plenty of discussion about who Reigns could be facing at the upcoming Premium Live events. The Tribal Chief hasn't defended his undisputed WWE Universal Championship since Crown Jewel and likely won't be back in the ring competing before the end of 2023. However, Reigns will be back on SmackDown on December 15th, so we will see the Tribal Chief before the close of the year. Now, it's widely believed that Reigns will next be in action at the Royal Rumble, although it seems like he won't be facing his Crown Jewel opponent LA Knight once again. This has sparked a wide amount of speculation about just who Reigns will be facing, especially as he's already beaten pretty much every major star that WWE has to offer. Writing in today's Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer has revealed that Reigns could be set for a showdown with the recently returned Randy Orton. Of course, the Viper returned to WWE at Survivor Series, and at least in storyline was put on the shelf by Reigns and the Bloodline back in May 2022. Quote, "Right now, or at least as early in the week, it wasn't locked in who that would be with. A few names have been considered, Orton being one of them. Orton, Owens, and Knight would on paper seem like the top names, but none are a lock, and Knight was supposed to go in another direction as of last week." So, given the fact that Randy Orton returned on Raw and said that he's got receipts for every member of the Bloodline, and the fact that Randy Orton is going to be on SmackDown tonight, could maybe be an indicator that Reigns versus Orton is scheduled for the Rumble. Are you interested in that? Let me know your thoughts on that as well. Speaking of the Rumble, the poster has been released today, and a couple of big names actually aren't featured in the advertising for the show. Today, Triple H and WWE put out new posts on social media promoting the Royal Rumble. The event is set to come live from Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida on January 27th. While there's always been an incredible buzz around the event, that went to a whole new level following Survivor Series and the returns of CM Punk and Randy Orton. The pair both feature on the new poster for the Rumble. However, two names are conspicuous by their absence. Both Brock Lesnar and Drew McIntyre don't feature, and the Scottish Warrior isn't happy about it. Posting in a response to the poster, McIntyre wrote, quote, "Are you starting to understand my frustrations now?" Lesnar's absence also caught the eye of fans, and it's believed he'll be resting at the event. In October, it was reported that Brock Lesnar would be back for Royal Rumble season before competing at the show. He hasn't appeared on WWE television since being defeated by Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam back in August. At the time, it was suggested that possibly Lesnar could be retiring. However, he is expected to be returning. Lesnar wrestled a total of 6 matches in 2023, including the Royal Rumble match as well. So, yeah, it's interesting, certainly, isn't it? And let me know your thoughts about that. What are your thoughts on Drew McIntyre being left off? Is that part of the storyline? And what are your thoughts about Brock Lesnar being left off as well? Is that a big absence too? Mercedes Monae, a bit of an update on the future of Mercedes Monae in professional wrestling. Of course, she posted that video of her training this week. Mercedes Monae had not really long started her post-WWE tenure with New Japan and Stardom before she was sidelined with an ankle injury. While she is yet to return to wrestling, that has not stopped speculation running rampant as to where she will ply her trade if and when she does return. In this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer wrote that it would appear she has no contracted dates left with Bushiroad, the parent company of New Japan and Stardom, problem, and previously reported plans involving Monae facing current New Japan Strong Women's Champion Julia have been shelved. Monae suffered her ankle injury during a match for the title against Willow Nightingale in the finals of a tournament to crown the inaugural champion, which Nightingale would go on to win, as a supposed audible was called due to the injury to Monae. The bout itself was reported to have been devised explicitly with Monae in mind, but her injury forced plans to change. Meltzer noted that while Bushiroad no longer has the match planned, they are interested in booking it at some stage if it is possible. The situation, though, has multiple moving parts, as Julia's future in Japan may not be certain amidst rumours of her signing with a major US promotion. Monae's future, on the other hand, largely depends on whether she signs with WWE or AEW. The former would effectively end her current run in Japan, while Bushiroad may be able to work out appearances in Japan if she indeed does join AEW. Regarding her return to the ring, it's looking positive that she may do so sooner rather than later, after she recently posted a compilation of herself back in training. Time will tell where indeed she does return. Where do you think Monae is going to land? Is it going to be in AEW? Is it going to be in WWE? Is she just going to stay explicit with New Japan? Let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below. Now, Matt Hardy's been making headlines today when it comes to some of his creative frustrations in All Elite Wrestling right now. Matt Hardy has been teaming with his brother Jeff since Jeff joined the company last year, most recently on Dynamite when the Hardys teamed with Brothers A in a losing effort to Top Flight and Action Andretti. Speaking on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy podcast, Matt discussed his current booking in AEW, noting that the past few months have been frustrating. He said, quote, "I think it's very important just to state that I feel there's such a great spot for us at AEW if we're utilized in the correct way. We just got to get there. At WrestleCade we had this week, they said it was the biggest house they ever had for WrestleCade. We had such an insane line at the meet and greet. There's still such a huge fan base that wants to see us, and we're beloved. We're not Matt and Jeff Hardy of 1999 and 2000, but there's still so much we can do to help young guys continue to come up and also give our rub off to these young guys. But we just need to be utilized in the right way, and we hope we can get there. We feel like we're taking steps in the correct direction. I mean just creatively, just like the way we've been utilized in the last 4 months. It's been very frustrating. We've been very patient, but there has been a lot of frustration. Things we've done and kind of how we've been utilized in some ways. So I feel like the natural thing to play off is like channel that frustration and kind of put it into what we're doing. And to those people that I call malcontents, you know, those people, if they hate us, we'll give them a reason to hate us. There's something we can do there to evolve our characters and once again reinvent into something we've never done, because there's never really been like an aggressive take by any means necessary, like cheat if you have to, or break the rules if you have to, or be bad Hardy Boys version of the Hardys. We've done stuff as Broken Matt and Brother Nero. There was a time when he was the Antichrist, and obviously I've been healed because I was like, you know, more of the heel because he was historically the more popular of the two of us, you know. But I think the two of us together in a new role, I think it would be very refreshing. I think it's something we could use to kind of like get back to where we want to be. I just feel like because we are considered one of the most iconic tag teams, one of the greatest tag teams of all time, you know, with all of our achievements and, you know, all the groundwork we've broken and all the trails we've blazed, I felt like we could be in some sort of circulation where we come in, we have some wins here and there, we get some momentum going, then we go into a big issue with a younger guy and we make this younger guy look good, but we haven't really got the opportunity to do that, and that's what I want. I mean, even, you know, there's a time today after our match was over, I went back to the boss and said, hey, we want to talk to you, you know, going forward, we're going to do that or whatever. But I feel like there was a way to get to that where you can still keep us in the mix as a team that is a threat and that is relevant and current, but then you can still help build younger teams as well. And I think that's where we need to be at the moment. Now, Hardy recently pitched for a potential heel group involving the Hardys, Christian Cage and Adam Copeland. Whether or not we'll actually see that, we'll have to wait and see. But what do you make of what Matt Hardy is saying? Is he right to have those creative frustrations? What are your thoughts on the Hardys in AEW right now and their lack of television time? Would you be interested in seeing a heel Hardy Boys? Let me know your thoughts about that too in the comment section below. Now, reportedly, there's been some questioning of WWE leadership internally over the decision not to sign, or rather losing out on the signing of Will Ospreay to AEW. At AEW Full Gear, AEW's new major signing was revealed to be none other than Will Ospreay, who's set to leave New Japan Pro Wrestling early next year. Ospreay was in high demand, with AEW and WWE both interested in his services, and even TNA throwing around a reported monster offer for the company to sign the aerial assassin. Dave Meltzer noted in today's Wrestling Observer newsletter that while WWE can always offer higher contracts than AEW went higher for Ospreay, which was said to have some within the company questioning the leadership on that decision. Meltzer writes, quote, "Obviously, WWE can always afford to go higher than AEW if it wants to, although those in WWE concede that AEW went higher for Will Ospreay and even questioned the leaders on that one." But the belief was that even though Ospreay said he was willing to move to the US if need be, he did not want to move to the US, and AEW was allowing him to live in the UK, and that was a key factor as well. Ospreay will join AEW full-time after he wraps up his dates in New Japan Pro Wrestling, including a three-way scheduled for Wrestle Kingdom 18 against Jon Moxley and David Finlay. Finally, Britt Baker. People were talking about her this week after her tweet she posted during AEW Dynamite, and an update has emerged on the status of Baker and the real reasons for her AEW absence. Baker hasn't wrestled since unsuccessfully challenging for Chris Statlander's TBS Championship on the September 16 episode of AEW Collision. She's missed a number of AEW shows, including the company's recent visit to her home city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on November 25th. Per Dave Meltzer, in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Baker missed the Pittsburgh Rampage and Collision tapings due to an illness. Noting that Baker has been dealing with back issues recently, Meltzer writes, quote, "Baker missed the Pittsburgh show due to an illness that didn't allow her to travel. Apparently, a number of talents were sick that week, to the point Tony Khan at the show, both before and after, told the fans that several people were sick and told the fans how much he appreciated their support. Khan, after the show, stayed and took photos with every kid until long after the show was over. Baker has been bothered by a bad back as well, which she's been dealing with for a long time, which is why she put some people over and hasn't been around much of late." Now, of course, this week she did take to social media to point out her lack of promo time on Dynamite this year, but reportedly is also dealing with an injury. But there you go, guys. The latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak for you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.